Welcome to a refresher course on rhythms. This video will talk about note names and time signatures. If you already have a firm grasp on these topics, feel free to move on to the next video that sparks your curiosity. For everyone else, let's get into it. First, we should talk about note names. Here are 5 different kinds of notes: whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note, and 16th note. It is well worth your time to practice memorizing the names of each of these notes. The relationships between these notes is time signature independent, meaning it will always be the same no matter what time signature you are playing in. One whole note is always twice as long as a half note. One half note is always twice as long as a quarter note, and so on and so on. With that being said, the actual duration of each note, meaning how many beats it gets, is time signature dependent. A quarter note, for instance, does not have a universal length across all time signatures. This is where we now get to discuss time signatures. All time signatures serve to answer the question, how many of what kind of note makes one measure of music? The top number of our time signature tells us how many beats are in a measure. This is the number we count to when listening to or playing a piece of music. The bottom number is a little more complex. The bottom number of a time signature tells us what kind of note gets one beat. Each type of note is associated with a number on the bottom of a time signature. One way I have found to remember this is to imagine cutting a delicious pie into pieces. However many pieces we cut our pie into is the number that the note is associated with. Let me show you. If I have a whole pie, I have one piece of pie, so whole notes are connected with time signatures with the number 1 on the bottom. If I instead cut my pie in half, I now have 2 pieces, so if a time signature has a 2 on the bottom, a half note gets 1 beat. If I cut my pie into quarters, I have 4 pieces, so in a time signature with 4 on the bottom, a quarter note gets 1 beat. Eighth notes get 1 beat when there is an 8 on the bottom, and 16th notes get 1 beat when there is a 16 on the bottom. Putting these 2 pieces of information together, let's practice just a couple of time signatures. Remember, the 2 numbers tell you how many of what kind of note makes one measure of music. So what would one measure of this time signature look like? It would look like this: 4 quarter notes. How about this time signature? Here's the answer: 6 eighth notes. Finally, and perhaps most important to take from the video, is this: rhythm and speed are 2 completely different aspects of music. They are related, but they are not the same. You can play any rhythm at any speed. So make sure and start slow if you have a difficult rhythm in front of you. More videos are being added to this rhythmic practice playlist all the time, so if you don't see a video talking about a question you have, leave a comment. If you have a question, it's likely other people have the same question too. If you found this video helpful, remember to like and subscribe. Feel free to ask a question down below so we can all keep learning from the ground up.